don't know how to put it, but yes, because what came to my mind at the mention of a psychiatrist, and I'll tell you, I was in my mind, I was like, hey, I'm mad. Okay, so one of the myths of mental illness, as soon as, in fact, in Africa and in Ghana, I think as soon as people say mental, everyone's mind is off straight to, excuse me, say he or she is mad. Okay, so one of the foremost myths, especially in Africa, is that as soon as, in fact, some people will even insult you and say this person is mental. Okay, that's one of the myths. And then the other, I think I'll give about 5. And the second one I'll give here is that mental health problems are uncommon. It is not true. Every single one of us, as long as per the definition of mental health, you fall short, you are in the bracket. And especially now in the circumstances of coronavirus, we are literally, excuse my language, hanging by a hair's breadth from tipping over into something of the sort, quote unquote. Okay. So mental health problems are not uncommon. A lot of the time, people are even afraid to open up to people about what they are going through in terms of their mental health situation. And when you are talking mental health, you are talking about your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. Okay, so that's the second bit. And the third one is that people with mental health conditions cannot work. It is not true, because it's not mental health. Okay, this flows out of the point I made first, that people immediately think that you are mad. And for us, when you are mad, it means you have no sense of anything, so you are not even awake. So that will tell you that someone like that will not or cannot work. But when I was depressed, I was going to work all right. I was if I didn't tell you, or if you didn't know, you wouldn't know. And a lot of the times, people are having those mental health problems, but they function almost like an automating, because you know that if people find out, the stigmatization, so you force yourself to carry on and go through. But indeed, you are not in a good place at all. Okay. Then I think I'll round up by saying that mental health problems are a sign of weakness. No, 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 no. As I said before, I've been there, and I'm sure that if everyone around me at that point had known that I was going through something like that, they would never have believed it. Because I was okay. It was kind of like you switch on and off, depending on what the situation is. So most of my meltdowns and what I really became, or what was really happening to me, was displayed when I got home. But at that point, I've had it, so I just let it go. So these are a few of the myths about mental health that I would want us to discard, because they are not true.
Very interesting. So the myth that mental health is equal to being mad, and also the myth that a person with mental health issues is incapable of working, or also the myth around the person is weak or something. These are some of the myths that surround mental health. And I think that what struck me when you were talking was the fact that you mentioned almost everybody has issues of mental health. And
Yes.
and that is interesting, because when we hear mental health, everybody will
Yeah.
somewhat tries to disassociate themselves from mental health because
Yeah.
of that perception that you are sort of mad, or you are incapable of doing something. So This is really an interesting one that almost everybody has or suffers some form of mental health problem.
Yes, yes,
Wow,
yes, yes,
wow, wow.
yes. Up to the point where, if you are having, okay, the thing is like this. First, you start out by having too much stress.
Okay.
A bit of stress is good and okay because that's how you are wired. It's a human being's way of, if there's a problem, if there's an issue, you flee or you stand. Okay,
Okay.
we call it flee or flight. You understand, and it's good. But if there's no cut-off point, or it doesn't lessen, or you don't get back to normal, it can lead to burnout.
Yeah.
And like you feel almost helpless. Nothing seems to look good enough. Nothing seems to be working. Nothing. You just don't feel like it's good. Now from burnout, you are going straight up into depression. So if all these factors are there,
Mm. Mm.
you are in that kind of state
Yes.
consistently every time. We
Yes.
all have mental health issues.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the
Wow.
yeah.
So Wilma is asking in the chat that based on the definition you gave for mental health, and she was asking if I got the WHO definition right, does it mean that if I'm not aware of my ability to cope and contribute with balance, I am mentally unhealthy? And she would want a lot of clarification.
Um, okay, let me, okay, so if right, does it mean if I'm not aware of my ability to cope and contribute with balance, I am meant, yes, you see, this issue of, as long as you are in a state of feeling overwhelmed,
Mm, mm,
which leads to a state of feeling incapable, which causes you to throw your hands up in the air, you are having problems.
okay,
And you
okay,
need our support and help.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think there are breakages. And please, if you are not presenting, could you kindly turn off your video for us, please? Just to avoid the technical issues and the difficulties we are currently facing. Thank you. So in your response to Wilmer's question,
Yeah.
that if you do not have that ability in some way, does that constitute as mental health?
Please come in. I didn't hear you.
I'm asking that in line with Wilmer's question, that if you are not aware of that ability to cope and contribute with balance, does it
Yeah.
mean that you are mentally unhealthy?
Yes, you see, yes, and that in itself is even a problem because you see, when you are aware, then you are empowered to get the help or support you need. So if you are not aware if you are not aware, how would you even be able to get the balance? And the balance I mean, in my opinion,
Mm,
I'm how do I I'm sinking, quote unquote. So if I'm sinking, finding help and being aware, if you're able to balance between these two, then you're in a good place to be able to take away. It's even, I would say it's even worse.
wow.
Did I?
We kept losing you a bit with the internet.
Okay, so should I start again?
Yes, please. Just
Okay,
so we can.
what I said was, you said Wilma says that if she's not aware to find the balance, then she's mentally not right.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what I'm awareness is the first step to help you to create the balance that you need, so that you okay. Okay.
Yes.
So the awareness is what, oh, I'm faltering or I'm sinking.
Yes.
Now I am aware that I'm sinking. What do? I look out for help. I get support. Now, creating a balance between your awareness and then finding the support or help you need is what will make you able to bounce back or tide you over that period.
Okay. 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 Wilma, I hope we answered your question. So let's follow up on the myths, having mentioned the myths and everything. And you mentioned some issue when you were talking, you talked about depression and all that. What I want to find out is what are some of the important and mental health related issues that you need to pay attention to, because you said when you were stressed, you mentioned about stress and being depressed and all that. What are some of the pointers that we need to be aware that, okay, I'm in this state of mind and I'm not really healthy mentally, and I need to
Right.
do something about it. So could you kindly take us through that?
Okay, so what, like those factors I mentioned about stress, burnout, and depression, they are kind of, if you would say loosely, they are the basis of measuring your mental health, because like I said initially, a certain level of stress is good because you are wired to respond to situations and circumstances.
Yes.
Now, if in doing that you don't bounce back out of that place of stress and it mounts and keeps on, then you should be, you should start looking out to do something about the stress. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about stress. Now, stress is our body's response to pressure. Okay,
Okay.
any type of change that causes physical, emotional, and psychological strain. And the situation usually, or the event, puts pressure on you. Now, if after maybe the present situation and you are still constantly on edge, like in the definition I've given of stress, you
Yes.
must start looking out to get help to get out of it or to manage it so that you can be as good as possible to carry on with the balance and all the other things I spoke about, so that you can work fruitfully, productively, and contribute to your community. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'm using these three because they follow after each other. Now, after stress, then you get burnout. Now, burnout is the next stage from stress. And
Okay.
it is and it is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Okay.
Interesting.
Now, when you get to this point, you are headed towards anxiety disorders, loss of energy, etc., etc. Now, if at this point you are someone, you would know yourself, and that is where the awareness I spoke about comes in. So I'm aware. I'm getting to this point. This is not me. This is not how I roll. This should point out to you straight away that I need to get help. Now, in getting that help, you are balancing the help you are getting in the awareness you have that this is my situation. So this help I'm getting it to help me out or take care of me. So that awareness will make you go along or do what you're supposed to do when you are able to get the help that you need.
Okay.
So you see the interconnection about the awareness and the balance,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you just have to find a balance somewhere. You may not be able to get out totally, but the balance will be enough. And by the time, a lot of the time, before you are aware, you really are back to normal because
Mm.
you are able to maintain the balance to get you out of the bad place, if I may say so. Okay. Now, by the time you get burnout and you are losing it, quote unquote, you have descended into depression.
Okay.
And depression is a mood disorder where your mood is low, there's loss of interest, enjoyment, reduced energy. It's not just a sad feeling. And there are types and symptoms of depression. There are varying levels and there are severities of the symptoms.
Mm.
Some of the symptoms can lead to increased risk of suicidal thoughts and behavior. And from my experience, it is true.
Okay.
It is true. I know there are people who will be hearing me today and they will be shocked that I won't lie to you. And I'm saying it, I'm speaking to the depression bit about my situation with it.
Yes.
And it's focused on what the symptoms can lead you to in terms of risk, increased risk of suicidal thoughts and behavior. I used to work on the Independence Avenue then,
Okay.
and I'm driving from work. And I don't know why, but every time I go to 37 Military Hospital, see all those big trees with the bats in them, right as I get there, then the thoughts like, ram on your accelerator and go at the trees. And it took everything in me not to do that. Because most of the time I was in the car with colleagues that I had given lifts to. And we were chatting and stuff. But as soon as we got there, I'll just get like that. And I know that no one would believe it, but that is how it was for me.
Okay. So does it mean that depression doesn't necessarily make you have like a very, because obviously if you were with colleagues, for example, you were chatting, you were smiling, you were
Yeah,
laughing, and you seemed
yeah,
so normal.
yeah.
Um, does it mean that depression doesn't necessarily always have to come with that gloomy look and that sad face, like your world, everything? And it means that it may come in forms that we are not aware of.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why I said that there are varying levels and severity of the symptoms.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that sometimes the way people are wired would determine what and how theirs would be like for them.
Mm.
For me, I had a need not for people to think I am mad.
Okay.
So anything and everything I would do or could do to make sure that I was normal and all I was doing, but it was a facade.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow. Wow.
yeah. So these are the things that we need to be aware of
Yeah.
and look out for help as soon as you start getting to these three states. In you know yourself, right? You know yourself and you know what it is and what it isn't for you, so that when you begin to feel any of these things or yeah, you need to get help. And I'm sitting here and saying you need to get help like I did it, but it was a fight. I mean, how I got to see the psychiatrist was to have the doctor promise me that the psychiatrist would come in at 6 p.m. and they
Mm-hmm.
should make sure that there was no one in the reception
Okay.
before I went in to see the psychiatrist.
Because you wouldn't want people to
No,
see
no
you and
one,
say
no, I'm
that, oh,
not mad.
she's actually
No,
not in that.
no,
Yes, is that
yeah,
her? Who
no,
cancels the counselor?
yeah. I didn't want anybody to. I mean, it was, and I'm known to be, excuse me to say, a crazy person. Like, I'm always, yeah, it depends on my level of interaction with you. I was always ready to joke, laugh, that kind of thing. And I really, really took my work seriously. So
Yeah.
I just didn't want a slur cast on me in any way, anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I would want us to bring, how about people who say that, well, I work under stress, I like to be stressed, that is when I'm most effective. How will you be able to balance that amount of stress that allows you to work enough,
Mhm.
and then that amount of stress that is actually leading you into burnout and depression subsequently if you do not handle it effectively? How can you deal with that? Yes.
Okay, so if maybe if I said it this way, it will help people to decide that yes, I like to work under stress, I work
Yes.
better and all, but the downside is that, you see, the human body is made up of chemicals, if you or enzymes, and
Yes.
they all have their functions for us. Now, two enzymes that come up, I mean, in terms of, let me say, let me just say that I'm going to talk about two of them.
Mm.
That one of them, all the enzymes or chemicals that make us happy, buoyant, etc., they are all alkaline.
Mm.
Okay, and the human body was naturally made to be alkaline. Okay,
Yes.
now all the enzymes or chemicals that cause stress, anger, bitterness, etc., they are all acidic.
Wow.
Okay, so every time you are angry, you are stressed, you are working, because that's the way you work best under stress, just remember that you are increasing your acidity level. And all the time that the human body is acidic, it is calling or summoning illnesses and diseases for you.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And let me give you a case in point. Myself again. I've been ill. I've been dealing with cervical spondylosis for 12 years now,
Okay.
and it's a nerve condition. Okay, and we all know that nerve conditions are so painful, and the medication you are given is usually not common, and you have to take it for only a certain period of time, and so on and so forth. Now, what am I saying? I've noticed every time that I am fine, like I'm as good as possible, there are times that I don't feel any pain, nothing. And I'm very fine. I mean, I even forget, to the extent that when I'm doing things, my husband will be like, mind your back, mind your hand. And it's because I've forgotten that because I'm not having pain. And my doctor has made me aware, and it's true. Every time that I'm balanced or normal emotionally, mentally, I
Yes.
don't feel the pain. And every time, let something happen, like I am, if I'm too happy, it can trigger the pain. If I'm sad, it triggers the pain. If I'm worried, it triggers the pain. And it is true. For the past couple of weeks or so, I've been in a bad place. I won't lie to you, I don't sleep. And I cry like a baby. So you see, because I'm not in a good place, in a positive place, my acidity level is high.
Mm.
And it is triggering of my pain. And guess what? Because of that, I have BP. And when my pain is on, my BP readings are
Yes.
crazy.
I
And it turns
see.
out that chronic pain, like what I go through, actually triggers BP and hikes it.
Interesting. I think that from everything that you are saying, that you said when you are on a balance and you don't have the pain and all that, I think that it draws my mind to the idea that as individuals, we really need to know ourselves.
Yes.
You somewhat need to know what makes me happy, what excites me, what makes me angry.
Yeah.
You need to know what triggers some sort of emotions you
Yeah.
have. And you
Yeah.
also need to know what other things make you on the flip side.
Yeah.
So I think that that is something that we hardly do. I mean, it sometimes you would have to be in some sort of situation before you recognize that I
Yeah.
really need to
Yeah.
know myself.
Yes.
I need to know myself and I need to know what is good for me and
Yeah.
what is not.
Yeah.
And we before we delve into the next session where we'll be looking at mental health and work,
Yeah.
I would want the audience from the discussion so far,
Yeah.
any questions, any thoughts there, and something exciting you would want to share us following this. Is it something that you have learned that you never thought of? We would be happy to hear from you. If there are any questions, you could just unmute yourself and just ask or anything like that.
Hello, can I come in?
Yes, please. And please, before you, Leonard, could you please turn off your video?
Okay, sure. Hello.
Hi, Vanessa.
I hope everyone is well.
Yes.
I think even
Yes,
though
we are.
I joined in a little later, this session has been interesting. And one thing that strikes me is when Madame Joanne talked about her condition, where if she stresses, she goes into pain.
Yes.
I kind of I'm also I also have sickle cell.
Yes.
So my body also reacts in the same kind of way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've tried to master when I get stressed, like to minimize, I've tried to master my body per se,
Yes.
to know when I'm getting to a particular stress that will harm my body.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's very encouraging that I am not alone, obviously. And I feel like I'm getting there. Maybe because it's been over a few years, you know.
Yes.
It's been my whole life. So
Yes.
until I'm 30 years old, I've been mastering that.
Yes.
And I just wanted to point that out. So we all need to know at what level of stress is harmful to us. It's important for us to know.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
important to know what kind of stress we can carry on and what we can just dump, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So it was very encouraging. It was very encouraging. And I hope we can gather some skills to distress when we can on this
Certainly.
platform. So
Certainly.
thank you so much,
Thank you,
Madam
Vanessa.
Joan.
Thank you so much for sharing.
And
Gloria, please, you could also go ahead and talk.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
I'll say thank you to the presenter. That was a very good presentation. In fact, I really learned a lot from it. Maybe because I'll say I understand her very well. I understand what she went through
Yes.
because my mom went through the same thing when she gave birth to the one before our last born. So she went through it, but then in Africa sometimes people misunderstand depression
Mm.
to be maybe like somebody is possessed with evil spirit and all that, and instead of help where
yeah.
uh, seeking help from the proper place, they seek it somewhere else. In fact, their own was so bad. When I mean bad, I mean very, very bad. So I understand you very well, very well. And myself, I live a kind of traumatic childhood in the sense that I passed through a lot of things. I of things as a child, even as a teenager, and all that made me to made it very easy for what I suffer. I didn't know that I suffered depression actually, but later when I got married, having kids and all that, and sometimes the mood change. I can talk. I talk with people. I laugh with people. But
Mm-hmm.
then when I'm alone, I turn to a different person from myself. And because I didn't know it was a depression,
Yes.
it went to the extent that my life was threatened. In fact, there was a day it was so bad that I I had to take some and I found my husband. Thank God that my family came back early from the church because when it started, I just left them from the church. Just one thing that my husband did triggered everything. Because as a person that passed through traumatic experience during her childhood, what I really seek from whoever that I go with is that total love, that love that I didn't get from, let me say, my mom died early. So that selfless love, no attachment. So any little thing, that's why sometimes, to be frank, I don't have friends. Because when I have a friend,
Yeah.
I'm always open. I try to be myself. But any little thing that you do to show me that I don't belong here is already a trigger. So the next thing you see is for me to cut you off. That is why I cut my own out. So I cut you off immediately and live my life. And now I have kids. I have a family too. But that day, unfortunately, I couldn't control it and it was triggered. And I left them in the church. I came back home. Nobody knew that I left the church. And thank God I was safe. In fact, I was rushed to the hospital unconscious and everything was administered. And that was the time they told me that what I passed through is depression.
Yes.
So because I now know that I'm suffering from depression, I
Yes.
started taking care of myself and not keeping any company that will trigger it. So I'll say it's just there. Is that so many people are suffering even without them knowing. And they know, maybe their family member. Thank God my husband understands. But then my mom's own, they never understood her. Instead, what they did is to term it as she's possessed and all that, which wasn't. So people don't really pay attention to those things. But as women, I think we should start paying attention to them because it's like it happens to us maybe when we give back from family, stress, husband, kids, and all that. So thank you so much for the presentation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, please, Wilma.
Yeah.
So we'll take Wilma's question and then we'll move into mental health and the workplace.
Thank you. I'll make this very quick. And thank you, Jordan, for sharing with us. Just a couple of things I want to throw up.
Yes.
There was a time when I used to tell, a few of my friends, like
Yes.
when we were meeting, that, I think I'm depressed. I think I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And the response I always got was, stop it, you're not depressed, you're just stressed out. And then I started questioning myself. I mean, am I just stressed out
Yes.
or I'm really depressed? And what's the difference and the distinction? So I started keeping quiet about it. It's okay, maybe I'm being too funny, I'm not depressed, but, how then do I deal with it? I mean, it was, it's been something that I've kind of like battled with for some time. Second thing is the theme of self-awareness, which you brought up, which I think is very important. But I'm wondering about myself and how I deal with some things, which then gives me personally the balance that I need. So if you tell me some nonsense, I'm more likely to want to tell you something to level out. And, then I go away and I'm happy. if I can't respond or if I have to keep things in, and especially I'm sure we're coming to the work situation, and so I mean your boss or colleagues or something, we're in an environment where you have to contain yourself. And I'm not talking about using bad language or anything, but this business of you can't speak up to authority or challenge situations and things like that. And if you're the kind that does not necessarily is not the conformist type, it becomes very difficult because you're confronting something that you're not comfortable with, that you probably don't agree with, and yet the environment expects you to just hold it in. How do you deal with that kind of thing? I think I'll leave it there. Thank you very much anyway for this session.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that we are having some really interesting things, and you can see the trend of being depressed and telling people about it, and people assuming that you are not. And then the whole trying to keep everything inside because you are supposed to act as all put together and have everything all together. And I love where the conversation is headed. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. And before we continue, Leonard, could you kindly turn off your video since you are not presenting? All right, thank you very much. So with everything that is going on, I know that you have a lot going on and you would want to talk about everything that is and the audience is sharing. But I want us to move to the next theme, mental health and work. And how can one be mentally healthy at work?
Okay.
And I know that is a very broad question, but we will try to look at Yes, we will try to look at some of the mental health issues that are specifically related to the workplace, and also what are some of the ways to deal with, because you can see that and people are wanting to know how best to deal with some of these issues. Like Roma was pointing out what she does. Is this appropriate and all that? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what we do know that work it causes pressure on our mental health. I mean, you cannot work and not have a kind of level of pressure, which in itself is a stress, and stress is right off into your mental health domain. Okay, so yeah, and so how can we be mentally healthy at work? Now, I just want to go, maybe let me say, call our attention to some things that could be sources of stress and therefore cause us mental health issues.
Yes.
I'm going to mention them because I've noticed that, or I've seen as you go along that we take things for granted. We seem to think, oh, it's nothing. Yeah, like Wilma said, and like she was told that there's nothing wrong with you. You are okay. And you see, when let me just chip this in right now before I forget. When we say getting help and support, yes, you have your regular or usual social system of support, your friends, family, colleagues, etc. But it is necessary, absolutely necessary, to get the right kind of help for your mental health. Okay. The right kind of help and support for your mental health. So, for me, thankfully, my doctor picked things up because she's known me for a long time.
Okay.
And she was the one who suggested that, look, I'd want you to see a mental health specialist. Okay. So that was my savior. Okay. So, but now with so much of these things going on and the awareness, I will say right here, right now, please get professional help for your mental health as well. Because you see, I am just a talk therapist. So I will start you off from the talking in terms of your emotions and your action. But then when it comes to the medical stuff and things, my boss is a psychiatrist, so then I will refer you. And there are specialties in the field. So I will talk to you after I notice that no, you need this counselor, and I will refer you to that person. You need that kind of special person, and I will refer you to that person. Okay? So please, when we say get help, it is necessary, absolutely necessary to get it, because it will save you a ton. All right. So now I'm just going to go off into some of the pressures that can affect our mental health at work. One of these is age issues. Okay.
Okay.
Here I am at this age. I will not mention it because I'm a lady. So at this age, I have maybe like how many? Just I have just how many, like 12 years or less to be heading for retirement. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and I can't help and be like, if I go off work, what am I going to do? How am I going to take care of myself? Blah blah blah, da da da. And all of this, you are working, but these things are eating you up.
Yes.
Because you are looking at your environment, you are seeing that you are going, you are going, like it or
Yeah.
yes, you are being eased out somehow. And
Yeah.
this in relation to, you see younger people coming in and they are taking up people's places, they are replacing them, and so on and so forth. You cannot help but be under pressure. And it is coming from the workplace because you are there and all these things are going on. Okay. Now, two, if you have a boss who would never appreciate you, never acknowledge you, it's almost like there is nothing, absolutely nothing you do that is good enough for the boss. That is a definite straight pathway to all these things and depression. That's a mental health issue right there for you. And then talk about a hard boss. Work colleagues, they can make your life so miserable. They can make you feel so, I don't even know how to say it, because right away, I'm thinking of myself. And I'll give this example just quickly. I have I have very, very difficult pregnancies, and it's crazy for me. And excuse me to say, I am spitting, I am throwing up, and
Yeah.
all of that. But I can go to work, so I go to work. And I try to be as discreet as possible with all of these things going on with me. And there were two work colleagues who just, they made me feel like I was from the pits. And these are women,
Wow.
okay? These are women. This kind of thing can send you down in the lowest of low in the office, you know? So
Yes.
these are some of the things that can affect you. Now, how to cope with these things? First of all, we have to see, because you are affected like this, it will bring down your productivity. It
Okay.
will bring down, you know, even you it's so sapping of you emotionally, mentally, physically. And you know, your mental health directly impacts on your physical health.
Yes.
Okay, so when it comes to this, you have to do everything and anything within your power to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Leave nothing unturned in your bid to take care of yourself. Because if you do, then a lot of things can happen, but you'll be able to bounce back and be okay.
Okay.
Okay, now let me give you a background thing. The first time ever that I flew, you know the instructions they give as the plane is taxiing.
Yes.
Now they got to the point where if there's a crisis and we are being evacuated and your
Yes.
oxygen mask comes down, you are with a child, you put yours on first
Yes.
before you attend to your
Yes.
child. And I was sitting there and it was like a slap in my face. And I was like, what do you mean by I should take care of myself and leave my child? I'm not doing that. I'm taking care of my child first. And until I got trained as a therapist, I always got angry when they got to that point of the instruction. But now I have found out that when you have taken care of yourself first, you are better able to take care of other things and other issues. And that is all. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Okay.
It's as simple as that. It's so much so that right now, anything and everything that is coming into impacts me in a way that I know will take me down there, I would not permit. I just will not permit. As much as is within my power, I will not permit that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's me right now. And so I will urge every one of us, please, I don't know how else to say it. It's not like I'm there. It's not like I picked it, but little by little, this ocean is becoming mighty. And I'll encourage all of us to get to that place where you don't permit anything that will take your self-care away from you. But as soon as that is gone, you are gone with it.
Okay. Okay.
No two ways about that.
Okay. Okay.
So now let's go into how to deal with workplace mental health issues.
Yes.
One of the things we can do to help us in terms of taking care of ourselves mentally in the workplace is regularly do positive lifestyle things. For example, exercising, choosing to have a healthy diet,
Okay.
having, I can't say this enough because I know there's someone here who should hear this. Have a consistent sleep routine
Okay.
because sleep deprivation leads to even high blood pressure. Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
We need to do these things because positive lifestyle behaviors give us the key for optimizing our stress tolerance and resilience, or our getting back or over anything that bothers us. Now let's go on to the second way of dealing with our mental health at the workplace. We should try as much as possible to stay socially connected.
Okay.
Because often stress causes us to isolate because we are feeling rotten. I'm sure a lot of us can identify with this. Because like Wilma said, your tolerance level is like a hair's breadth, and someone is coming to invade your space with their whatever. You don't
Yeah.
have the
Yes.
the tolerance to contain it, right? So if we stay socially connected, it's a way of unwinding, it's a way of letting go, it's a way of yeah, yeah, basically. It surely will help us so that, and then you need to make time for yourself. Me, I'm a melancholic. The only way I can rejuvenate and re-energize is to have myself to myself.
Okay.
And it's so much so that my children know when mommy is in the room, you do not go there. Because when you knock the door, you open, I'm scowling at you. Yes, what do you want? And my children know it. I need to just, and I don't mind. I'll be in there, hold up for how many hours. I'll be in there, and I'll come out and I'm fine, because that's my nature. Someone to re-energize by going out, and that's the sound good.
Okay.
They have to have that connection so that they can re-energize. So you
Okay.
see, everybody and what you do to make you re-energize, rejuvenate, feel like you have yourself back, feel like you are okay, you are fine.
Yes. Yes.
You need to make this a part of your lifestyle to
Yes.
be able to take care of yourself at the workplace. Okay? Then we should try and periodically do a cost benefit check of our work situation. And that is, check how your work positively adds to your psychological well-being and vice versa. By the analysis, the analysis shows that more negatives than positives probably will eat you up, and it will negatively impact on your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and likely your physical health. And it is true. Like I said, when it's a negative situation, your cortisol levels are high, but you are naturally made to have an alkaline chemical. Your makeup chemically is alkaline.
Mm.
But when you are in a negative situation or things are happening that are bombarding you,
Yes.
you begin to raise your cortisol levels. And cortisol means acidicity. Excuse my language. Did I get it right? Acidicity. Is that how you put it?
Yes.
Someone help me out. Yes. So we cannot joke with the fact that we have to make sure that as much as is possible and within our power, we are doing and looking out for ways and means to make the positives be what is for us more. You see, the negatives, they are there, they overwhelm the positivity.
Yeah.
It is your business. Like I am a Christian. Like the Bible says, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. So you will take this positivity by force and own it.
Okay.
Like I remember how I lifted my pinky up and told someone, they were asking me about mine. I was like, okay, have you seen the line at the base of my pinky? That's the positivity in mine. The rest is all negative. But you somehow have to make that thin line overwhelm all of this finger. And that is what this is about. You have to. Okay.
So I will follow up on what you are saying, and Agent is asking, because you've mentioned about self-help, you've mentioned about supporting and all that, and she's asking that, what do you suggest
Yeah.
for prevention, like some of these issues? How do you prevent some of these issues? And also, any self-help tips?
Yeah, those are what I just outlined.
Yes.
About the regular doing positive lifestyle, having positive lifestyle behaviors like exercising, staying socially connected,
Yes.
periodically doing a cost benefit analysis of your work situation, all this, and then finding the last of these ways to help you is to identify work-related and non-work-related stresses that are causing you negative stress, and take proactive action to reduce, address, or remove the stresses whenever possible.
Okay.
Which this flows out of the point I just made about ensuring that anything and everything you have to do to ensure that you are surrounded more by positivity than negativity. You do.
Yes.
You do. And don't think that because I am reeling this up with you or to you, I'm all done and good. No. It's a constant thing. It's a cyclical thing. It's something you consciously make the effort to have in be. And you don't always get it right, but you see, as much as possible, if and when you are in this state, this minded, this aware, this balance. So you see where that thing comes in again, or those two things come in again. If you have this balance, this awareness about these things, and you as much as possible are applying them, as much as possible, you'll be good.
Okay.
It's not the end of it, but to get by.
Okay. Okay. So Adrian, I'm hoping that your question has been answered. So healthy diet and also doing an analysis of the positive and the negative of what brings you stress and what doesn't, and all that. Now let's go to mental health and the home. So COVID has happened and the dynamics for work has changed. Now we are working from home or we are working at home. How do you switch off work when you are working from home or you are working at home? How do you try to create that balance between work and house?
Okay. Right. The we have, you see, the issue of work from the house or
Yes.
home came up because of this pandemic. I mean, that is the basis of all of this talk right now.
Yes.
Coronavirus came in and it just threw everything, everyone, everywhere out of gear. And human beings quickly rallied around to preserve and to shape, if I may say, themselves. One of the major things it came or descended on us with was having to stay home. Okay, so now you now are working from home.
Yes.
Now, one of the things to take care of yourself as working from home is you have to find time.
Yes.
You have to find what do we call? You must how do I do it? I want to start from a place. Okay. Now, one of the things to do is to have a fixed schedule or a fixed time routine.
Okay, a fixed time routine.
Yes. First and foremost, we are all aware that the regular work time is from 8 to 5, right?
Yes.
It should not change just because you are home, even though you have the flexibility of deciding and determining what your fixed schedule will be. Okay, so this is one of them. Now, the next one is that you need to put your mind in the space for work.
Okay.
When it's time for the time that you schedule for yourself to work, 8 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever, when that time comes, you have to put your mind in that space.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Then the second thing is that create a work space.
Okay.
create the workspace and do not permit anything or anybody to come in there. For instance, when my husband is in his study, I know that you cannot just barge in unless it's absolutely necessary. And this has always been like that before we knew Corona. So now that there is the need for that, then you have a good reason why you should put yourself in a kind of, what do I say, a frame?
Yes.
Or yeah, which is the putting your mind in that space, the workspace.
Yes.
Just because you are home should not let you decide that, oh, every 2 minutes I can go and check on this, and so on and so forth. You are in that space and you are in that space. Or tell yourself, one of the ways in which I force myself to do things is, if you were not here, would you be able to do it?
Okay, that's a good one. If I was not here, will I be able to do it?
Yes. If you went home, would you be going off to cook? If
That's
you were
a
in the office, if you are, when, and you know how when we get to the workplace, we kind of switch off. It's the
Yes.
same thing that we should
Yes.
do, even though it's home.
Yes.
Because you need to do your work.
Yes.
Okay, so this flows into making sure that if there are children at home, you bring the children up to appreciate the fact that mommy or daddy isn't at the office, but it's not so that she'll be home or he'll be home with you. Even when we do this in the right way, with the right approach, our children will know and appreciate it. I maybe someone will say I'm saying this because it is there for me. So of course my children are all grown up, so I don't have any children, young children at home. But the point is that we need to have a certain discipline, and we need to bring our children up to appreciate the fact that yes, mommy is home, daddy is home, but there's a reason for mommy being home, and so mommy is working at home.
Okay.
And when you leave that workspace and things, go back and make up for the time by letting, when you let them know that after I finish the period that I said don't come to me, blah, blah, when I come out, we have our usual way of behavior and things. Over time, they will know that, oh, so mommy will come or daddy will come and be with us. So they can hold themselves to that time. In fact, it will be the what's the word? The reward for obeying mommy when mommy says you can't come in when I'm working, or daddy says you can't come in when I'm working.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now, the other thing is that when we are able, and then get support to help you to do what you need to do. And I'm talking about if you need a nanny to come in and help with the children, or someone to come and help you with the cooking, or if you cook over the weekend, and all these things, you have them in place.
Yes.
You ask friends to help you with meal, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So that you can do what you have to do, even though your circumstances of work have changed.
Okay.
And then, when all of these things are in place as much as possible, it is up to you or me to stick to the boundary. And that is the hard part. So you are only human, and you are like, oh, I'll make up for it there at that time around. You have to be disciplined enough to stick to the boundaries you fix, because that's how you are going to be able to achieve your work that you have to.
Okay. Okay. So if you want to switch off work when you're working at home, you need to have a fixed workspace, fixed
Yes.
workspace and a schedule. And I think that the takeaway for me is also that thing that if I were not here, would I have done this?
Yeah. No, you would not.
Because we become so comfortable that because I'm working at home, obviously you would want to do everything that comes across because you are home. And
Yeah.
so 1 minute you are in the kitchen, oh, I could just prepare something. The next minute I'm just trying to do something. And before you know, you have been thrown off
Yeah,
balance.
yeah, out. And you know, women will always chip in this fact that I'm multitasking.
Yes. Is that not true?
Okay. Yes, it's true, but I mean, this is serious business here. I mean, you and just okay, maybe it's stressful, but remember, your boss who is not too pleasant will come at you.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes you could even use that as the reason why you should stay put and stick to the boundaries you have fixed for yourself. This
Yes.
boss,
Yes.
you don't want him on your neck. You don't want him in your business. You understand.
Yes.
And then also I feel that when we appreciate the fact that okay, I'm home working, I've stuck to my schedule and all. But the good thing, the plus is that I don't have to sit in traffic to come home.
Yes.
Maybe your workspace is your dining hall. Maybe just about 2 seconds or 3 seconds, you are in your kitchen. Let that be the reward for staying put and sticking to the boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see, right now, anything and everything that would add positivity to your life, you have to. You see, you have to create your own positive atmosphere in a sense, because right now everybody is losing it, is having issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you must create your own atmosphere of positivity, own it and be it.
Okay.
And please trust me, I'm talking, but it doesn't mean I am it. I won't lie. I always say this. We are all in the struggle. I am saying it, but the good thing is that just like everyone else may be listening to me now, when
Yeah.
I go back, I will be like, you were the one telling people to create and own. So over to you.
Wow. So create your own atmosphere of positivity,
Yeah.
own it,
Own
and
and
be
be
it.
it. Yes.
That is a very good takeaway. So we have some interesting questions coming in.
Yeah.
Wilma is asking, how do we find good professional helpers? There's a therapist, a counselor industry. Is there a therapist or a counselor industry out there? Because, I mean, one of the things that when you talked about struck me was the differences in people, professionals who could help you deal with mental health.
Yeah.
That's they are the talking psychologists and they are the psychiatrists
Yeah.
themselves, and that is interesting. So
Yeah.
she's asking that is there a mental health or I'm sorry, is there a counselor industry or a therapist industry out there that you could benefit from?
Yes, yes. And one of the places that I'll point out to you is Wilma, you are in Ghana. I would say look out for when the Ghana Psychological Council publishes its list of licensed psychologists, psychiatrists, or professional health workers. They do it every year. I think they were supposed to have published it last month. I do not know why they did it. So that you have the list out there and I mean, or even if you should call, they will help and direct you to
Okay.
where to go. Yeah.
So the
And
name is Ghana Psychological and I'll type
council,
in the
that's
chat.
the licensing body. Okay. And then there's the Ghana Psychological Association. And that's the association. I mean, like, so we are all in there. They are the clinical psychologists, they are the psychiatrists, they are the talk therapists like me. I would tell you why I call myself a talk therapist. I don't like the tag of counselor because of someone everyone in Ghana knows. So I don't like calling myself a counselor. I choose to call myself a talk therapist. So if I
Okay.
say talk therapist, I mean counselors. And
Okay.
then there's also the Ghana Association of Christian Counselors.
Now that is what we will come to the next question. So
Okay.
the question is, Fumi has a question asking, how do we draw a line between church leaders acting as a therapist rather than religious leaders? And I think that she has a question that is similar to what Wilma is also asking, that what do we say about therapists or counselors who reduce therapy to Bible and biblical lessons or sessions?
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if you recall that when I was going to talk about the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, I said I'm a Christian.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll speak from that point. Okay, because this is not a therapy session. I am not permitted in any way to talk about religion with anybody who comes to me. You are not permitted. If you do and you are reported, your license will be taken away from you.
Okay.
Because if you begin to skew your work or who you are towards a particular religion, you will begin to reject people or condemn people or criticize people or look down on people. And one of the cardinal, what do I say? One of the cardinal requirements for a therapist is not to judge anybody. And that is why the Ghana Psychological Council has come up so strongly, and it's been so hard on licensing and so on and so forth, because this issue of religious bodies,
yes,
or religious people acting as therapists is
yes,
wrong. You know, just like how when you go to a doctor or a hospital, you have to run laboratory tests and so on and so forth before you are diagnosed. We do the same thing. So how do you diagnose? In fact, we are not even encouraged to say diagnose, because then you are making the person out like they are not well. Do you understand what I'm saying?
yes.
So you have to do a test. We have the tests we do. We have tests we do for every condition. They are the basic ones to just check you out. And then when we find out what it is, then we go down to specifics.
Okay, okay.
So that one is wrong for starters. And if the Ghana Psychological Council is able to get you, you will be in trouble.
Okay, okay.
And there, I mean, as you'll be in trouble for going to jail for like 10 years minimum.
Okay, okay. So, how do we draw that line between church leaders who are acting as therapists when they are in the position of a leader? How do we address it?
The best they do is give advice. They cannot administer or be therapists. They are not therapists because you have not been trained. You don't have what it takes to be in that place of a therapist. So you are not a therapist. Best you are doing is advising, or as they say in Ghana, you are leading or guiding people, but you are not being a therapist.
I think that's what it boils down to, is the fact that you should know who you are seeking for help from. That it will be best to seek for professional help, people who are licensed and are associated with a recognized body. That, well, while church elders can some sort of maybe advise you or something, they are not in that position professionally to be able to help you. And that is very, very important. So Anthony has this, and he's saying that sometimes people become depressed because they think negative about everything of theirs. And if you think about failure all the time, you can be depressed. And that is what he's contributing to the discussion. I wanted us to talk about how does relationship.
Can I just please speak to that? Right. You said Anthony, right?
Yes.
Anthony, let me just say that people don't just think of failure all the time.
Okay.
Everybody and how they are wired, if I may say so. And wired meaning their natural makeup. Now, this thing you said is reflective of my wiring.
Yes.
I'm a melancholic. Melancholics are dark, deep people. They turn a lot into themselves.
Yes.
Okay, so and indeed they see only negatives. That is true, but it is not in the sense in which we say negative.
Yes.
Okay, their negativity is in the sense of they are looking out to make sure. You see, they are perfectionists. So if there is negativity, they will see it because of their perfectionist nature. And so in their need to correct it, they'll come out and look like you are always seeing negativity. And you see, until I got trained and became aware that that is who I am, I would also say it in a negative way. But now, I have a better way of saying things that are negative. And then when I'm feeling like I'm being negative, I counter it by saying that I'm seeing negative only because I'm a perfectionist. And a perfectionist shouldn't have anything faltering or looking crooked.
Yes.
So in my need to straighten, if I don't see the negative, how can I straighten?
Yes.
So it's not just people being negative. And when you don't know it and are not aware of why you are like that, then it becomes the way you have put it. But it's not that they see only negatives. And when you get help, your strengths are revealed to you as well. So you are taught how to overcome your negativity with the strengths you have as a melancholic.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how it works.
All right. Thank you. I think that our time is almost up, and I don't know if anyone from the audience would want to comment about anything or share anything as we did earlier in the session. We will be happy to hear from you, and then we'll bring our conversation to a close.
So, hi everyone.
Hi.
It's Adrian here. Thank you so much for this presentation and discussion. It was very insightful, and as you can hear, these are the joys of working from home. My daughter is just part of what we were talking about. I just want to say that for me personally, it took a while to accept the new reality of working from home. I stubbornly stuck with my going to the office and everything until it became obligatory to start wearing masks. And I said, I can't work with masks. It's just very uncomfortable. I'm in sales. I need to talk to people on the phone. It's very uncomfortable doing that under a mask all day. But I have made the transition, and now I am one of those people who will not go back to the office, at least on a regular basis. Because I find it that you are in control of your time
Yes.
and your schedule. And I just want to encourage, like Joanna said, I just want to encourage everyone that you should accept help. I mean, if you were at the office, you wouldn't be looking after the kids, cooking, and doing all the other things that you want to do in addition to working. So if you are home and the kids are home, then like, by all means try and get help. Otherwise, also it's okay to be flexible with your time. I agree. Yes, there's a schedule of 8 to 5, but sometimes some days I make it 12 to 8 p.m. If that works for me on that
Yeah.
day, it's
Yeah.
okay as long as I know I'm delivering what I need to deliver. So the most important thing is to be self-accountable and stick to those goals, be very clear and intentional about what you want to achieve. And then one more thing about awareness, which was a big thing about mental health. I
Yes.
just want to know, Joanna, from your perspective, I heard you say a few things, but you didn't quite elaborate. How does one attain such awareness? Is it by psychometric tests? Is it by um, I don't know, speaking necessarily to a counselor? How do you get to awareness, self-awareness, which then informs your strategy in mental health issues?
Thank you, Adrienne.
Okay, am I required to answer?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Adrian, one of the ways is like today, for instance, thankfully, we've had this conversation and we found out that there are professionals who can help and whom people should go to when they need the help.
Yes.
So today you are aware, by word of mouth, you can tell people that this is what it is and these are some of the people or how you can get help. And then thankfully, we have Google. We have Google. I'm sure there's no question that if you Google, you couldn't or wouldn't get an answer to. Sometimes I just sit and randomly type things and I get answers. So that's one of the ways. And then the other too is, as I told Wilma, in Ghana, the Ghana Psychological Council will publish therapists or, in good standing. So you can also get the information from there as to who, where, and what. And like I said too, if in Ghana right now, if you go to the Ghana Psychological Council, if you go to the Ghana Psychological Association, you'll be given the help you need. In fact, we are too willing to help. Too willing to help. I don't know if you have my number. I don't know where you live right now, but yeah, I think yes. It's right now. This kind of talk or this kind of issue is no longer like wrapped up in covers or anything. It's all out there. So the help you want or need, you can get as long as you make the effort to get it. Yes.
Yes.
Is that helpful? Is that helpful to you?
Thank you, Joanna. It is helpful. Though I personally, I sort of look inwards most of the time. You were describing melancholic. I don't know if I'm quite melancholic or a mix, but I am also a very inward person. So one of the things that has helped me a lot, especially during the whole pandemic thing, was meditation. And I don't mean this in a religious way. I mean just really sitting by myself, silently observing my thoughts and sort of taking the reign over my emotions in untriggered atmosphere, so that where there is triggers, I'm more aware of my baseline and when I leave it, so that I can get strategies for me, which is usually exercising and maybe listening to uplifting music or just being around loved ones, to get back to that baseline. So yes, I do appreciate the help of professionals, but I also think that in our context in Africa, not everyone can afford a professional.
Actually, okay.
Absolutely.
That's so true. And permit me to speak to this bit of what you said right now. I used to be the person who cry easily, who crumble, who like I just am easily torn apart all the time. Now, 3 days ago, I have a cousin that she's my sister. I am older than she is, and she's one of my go-to people and places. And we were talking, having a conversation about my mom. I'm having some issues with my mom, and she was asking me about the old lady. And when I started talking, she was so quiet for a long time. Then she was like, "You've been going through all of this, and I didn't know." Then it dawned on me, I've become strong enough. I've grown to the place where I'm going to tough places and things, but I've been able to stand. I haven't gone crying. I haven't gone crumbling to anybody. And that came out of the fact that she's one of my go-to people and places. And her, however it was positive or negative, helped me to be strong enough to stand on my own. And I only went back to her to just have a conversation, not losing and crumbling and crying with snot and all over her. See, so it may not always be the professional, but having a good support, a good social system that is supportive and you see, everyone needs to have one or two people that you just know that this person, when I go there, I'll be me, I'll do anything, I'll get anyhow, and it is okay. A lot of the time, until you get the help you need, those sources are a huge and great source of support and strength and healing. Okay, so yeah, I maybe, and it's true, until I got trained as a therapist and all of that, I would not even think about if I'm going through an issue, a therapist. No, I'll call her. I'll call any one of those other people. And you know yourself, and you know who is that bound for you. You understand? You know who soothes you, who holds you when it's bad, until the help that is necessary and right comes along. And sometimes it's one of these people who say, oh, talk to this person or talk to that person as well.
All right. Are there any last words or anything? If not, I think we'll be bringing the session to a close. But I think that overall, one of the things that we have picked from this team, the woman, her mental health, and COVID-19, is the fact that we all need to know ourselves. I think that is one of the things. And following the discussion just now, we all need to know ourselves in depth. Like the way you would study your job or you would study something, you need to take time for yourself and know yourself in depth, like an analysis of yourself. What gives me that joy? What gives me that sorrow? What does this? What does that? Have these listed, and that will be some sort of little assignment that I am taking with me, and I hope you do too, to take that thing away that I need to know myself, note all these things down, because I think that that is like the first step to becoming aware of yourself. Like Adrian is saying that she knows that she can meditate on her own and just know that this is what I do to help. Someone also needs to pick the phone to talk to someone. Someone also would need to meet that person they don't know, the professional that they have no family relationship or anything with. So we need to know ourselves, and the fact that no one is superhuman. That's and that is interesting for me today, that we all have some form of mental health issues, and we shouldn't shy away from it because there is nothing wrong. We need to be able to recognize that these are a part of us as human beings as we are, and it's important to take that with us. And without anything, I would like to thank Joanna for that inspiring conversation that you give. I love the fact that you use yourself so much in this conversation, and you talked a lot about your personal struggles and how you've been able to deal with. I think that it's a joy to hear this, and I love the fact that the audience came in with so much interest in sharing their own personal stories as well, and also asking all these relevant questions that have been very good for us to all learn a thing or two. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to say thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. And if you don't mind, can we all unmute ourselves and say thank you to each other and bye?
Yeah.
Yes, I would love to hear.
Thank you, Bye for
Thank
Thank
you.
you
So
so
much.
much.
it's been a great time.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much, Joanne,
So
for sharing your experiences with us. Thank you. Take care.
All
Okay.
right, bye.
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 Bye. Thanks, Afua.
Bye, Johnny.
Nice seeing you.
Hi, Johnny.
I had to do. I couldn't resist.